Student behavior and discipline has always been a problem for teachers and administrators. One highly disruptive or defiant student can reduce the academic productivity of a whole class. 7 really challenging students who cycle on each other can create such chaos in the classroom that no one is learning anything. Halls or playgrounds that are loud, chaotic, or poorly supervised invite behavior such as bullying and harassment, which are barriers to learning in the classroom. This set of brief presentations explores why we need to be systematic, proactive, positive, and instructional in our approach to discipline, an approach that has come to be called Positive Behavior Support, or PBS. PBS is essentially a broad set of strategies with more emphasis on prevention and positive feedback than on simple reactive punitive techniques. Traditional punitive approaches have many inherent drawbacks, but for the sake of brevity, I will only focus on one. Specifically, with many students, consequences just don't work. Some of your students, especially the toughest, are completely unintimidated by any consequences that school personnel can implement. From the perspective of the tough students, consequences are very weak. I call this the "so what" phenomenon. Reflect on even the most severe consequences that schools can implement, and I'm guessing there are some students for whom those consequences have been ineffective. That is, they have not changed the student's behavior. Drop the idea that you will ever find a punitive consequence that will make students behave responsibly. Now, some people may think we're just not as tough as we used to be, and that when we were tougher, it worked better. That get tough discipline felt like it worked because our ultimate consequences were exclusionary, suspensions and expulsions. Those exclusionary approaches were not designed or expected to change behavior. They were designed to get those students out of our system. Here in the early part of the 21st century, dropout rates are hovering somewhere between 25 and 30% of our students. And there is tremendous pressure on the schools to reduce those numbers and help more students be successful within our pre-K through 12 system. Recognize that we can never punish those students into wanting to stay in school. We can never punish students into being motivated. So a more productive approach that will reach, teach, and motivate our students is positive behavior support. Enough research has been conducted on PBS over the last 30 years that we know it works. In our Safe and Civil Schools approach to PBS, we suggest that to improve behavior in all settings, staff work together to experiment with 5 variables that are summarized by the acronym STOIC. Structure all settings for success: classrooms, halls, cafeterias, buses, arrival dismissal, and so on. Teach expectations so students know how to be successful in each of those settings. Observe student behavior, supervise. Interact positively with students, build relationships, inspire students, provide positive feedback. Correct fluently, that is, calmly, consistently, respectfully, briefly, and immediately. This set of procedures spells out the word stoic. One definition of stoic is the perfect description of the most inspirational behavior managers with tough students. One admired for patience and endurance in the face of adversity. A more detailed presentation on using stoic as a framework for improving student behavior immediately follows this introduction. However, before going into more detail on stoic, reflect with me about the staff development challenges involved in getting staff, all staff, to make the shift from relying on ineffective strategies, negativity, and reactive techniques to being more proactive and positive. Most staff members truly want to help and inspire challenging students. They don't want to be negative, but misbehavior can be so frustrating. Look at this classroom example. You are the teacher, the students are supposed to be working independently on an assignment, and you notice a student who is off task. You do the seemingly very logical thing. You go directly to the student and say,
Ryan, you need to get to work.
now what this teacher just did was not bad or wrong, but it does set up a high probability that the student will respond in a way that can make us, the person in authority, feel completely helpless and totally out of control.
You can't make me.
That is so frustrating, because when a student says or non-verbally communicates, "You can't make me," we realize, oh my goodness, the student is correct. I can't. And out of a sense of helplessness, that staff member can now try to make the student behave, which moves us into adversarial, negative, punitive interactions that are unlikely to change the student's behavior and may even be reinforcing to the really tough student. Here I am, this insignificant problem student, and yet I can get my teacher to turn into a raving maniac. What fun.